last thing, we want Ebony to talk about a couple of her transactions that she has recently done where by giving proper guidance, she's been able to really make a difference.
Okay, so first I want to say that our jobs are not easy. This is hard. I'm not going to lie to you. Just yesterday, I remember texting Charity and I told her, what did I say? I said, I want to quit. I'm done with real estate. But that was honestly that was me being dramatic. And she responded to me like, okay, it's just a day. But for me, I am a hard charger. I like to do, right? When I'm not doing, I am literally like sad. Like I want to work. I want to meet with clients. I want to be out and about. And when I'm not, it's a problem. When I'm not, I'm dramatic. Like I'm done. I want to quit. I don't want to do this anymore. But that's just go shopping. I know. So I want to talk to you about a few transactions that I've had. For one of the transactions, I was on the listing side. And whenever I get listings, I am like over the moon. I'm overjoyed. I'm extra. But when I do listings, I look at the numbers over and over again before I present anything. I'm very careful in that regard. So when I'm trying to do comps, I am pulling from everywhere trying to get the right number, even though no, I'm not an appraiser, but I'm going to try my best to give them the correct number. In this particular case, I think we were going to list for about 260, right? So I got all the information that I needed. I ordered photos and measurements, right? So I already had an idea of how, like, as far as the square footage and everything. So when I got the photos and the measurements back, I'm reviewing everything. I don't just, oh, we're going live, right? I'm reviewing every single thing. So when I ended up getting the measurements back, we were off by a lot, right? So I called the client immediately and I was like, hey, I need you to pull up your appraisal report because I also helped her purchase this home. So I said, hey, I need you to pull up the appraisal report and tell me what the square footage was. My client, she's a hard charger as well. So she was like, okay, give me a few minutes. And she gave me the number and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, we can't go live right now. But I'll tell you why as soon as I can get to my computer, as soon as I can get to my phone. We ended up listing for, I think, was it 275, 280, something like that. I ended up saving my client about $20,000 because I was just that careful. I was paying attention to the numbers. Because on the flip side, I am a little bit of a numbers person enough where I know, okay, something is not right, something is off. So we ended up getting offers the first weekend. We got an offer, I think 10K over. And what's crazy is we ended up terminating, right?
Let's talk what we did. We went back and negotiated.
We went back, yes.
Due diligence.
Yes.
Because they didn't want to give due diligence.
Yes. So we ended up doing that. We got right back under contract and we ended up closing. And I ended up being such the shero. And I think I ended up calling Eric too, because it just blew me the price difference. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, we were going to list for this much, but now we can list for this much. This can't be. Oh my gosh, I'm just tripping right now. But it really was. And we ended up getting what she wanted for the house.
Plus the extra $5,000 from the initial due diligence.
From the initial
due diligence. So because we protected her by getting a higher due diligence, went back to negotiate.
Yes.
Then she kept that. And that is the purpose of due diligence for sellers, because buyers can back out. If they are not putting any due diligence down, there's no skin in the game.
Correct.
Yeah, so she got that money plus the money. So she ended up making $30,000, $40,000 more than she thought she was going to make initially.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was one shero moment.
Yep.
Yes. And then I actually got a listing right here in Apex. The client called, they came as a referral, and the home had already been listed, but unfortunately it was listed for too much. And one thing that I do believe in is being honest and upfront. If I know that the home is overpriced, I'm not going to try to go behind and list it for that same price or say, hey, I am confident I can get you this number. If the numbers aren't numbering, then let it be that. So if they're not numbering, they're just not numbering. So I had to have that hard conversation with the clients, but they also were in a predicament where they were renting and they were also still paying a mortgage. So I wanted to make sure that at all costs, I wanted to be honest. I did a walkthrough and they were like, oh, hey, tell me about the house. And I was honest with them as well. Hey, certain things are just outdated compared to other homes. Would have chose a different carpet. It's okay. We're still going to list and we're going to list for this much. Is this okay? I know it seems far off from what the other agent listed it for, but I want to be honest with you and let you know that this is probably where we're going to be at to get the results that you want. And they were okay with it. They trusted me through the entire process. Oh, can't forget, they also had a dining area that had red paint. And for me, and just my own personal experience, sometimes, you know, when you look at the pictures, you look at homes and you see so much color, it's hard to look past that. I'm gonna keep scrolling like, no, right? So I said, hey, we really need to get rid of this red paint. I promise you, please trust me. They trusted me. We got somebody out like literally in 2 days, changed the wall paint. We got some staging done by Miss Tanya over there. And actually one of our BLA members, they actually did the open house, and we had over 80 people come to that open house. Over 80 people come to that open house, and we were under contract, I believe, that Sunday. Oh, not to mention, we had several offers, right? Mind you, in my head, I know my client is paying rent, and I know they're paying a mortgage, right? So how can I get them money right now?
Yes.
So I was able, once I got the offers, I was able to go back and negotiate $30,000 in due diligence for them. So I got them $30,000 immediately, which is such a relief, right? Because they're paying in 2 different areas, right? So then at closing, they walked away with over $120,000.
And how much was the cost of the paint? Like $400.
Yeah, like $400.
Buyers, what do they think paint costs? $10,000. Like, they just have this idea. So your job is to really, as a marketer, bring as many people as possible. So it's super important.
It is important.
And then buy side, like, she negotiates for her buyers.
Like this deal I'm about to close on Monday, we were able to get $11,500 for them. Yep, $11,500 for repairs. Like,
you just have to ask.
Yeah,
We're so afraid to ask sometimes.
And actually, they told me no initially for the home warranty. So when we got the repair estimates back, I was like, hey, is your seller willing to give or willing to rethink the whole home warranty? There's several things that need to be repaired. And they came back and gave us an additional $1,500 for that. So just because, it's no in the beginning, just still go back and negotiate for your client. Be that hard charger for your client.
Right.
Yeah.
Love that. I have a client that's closed, not recently. The price was initially listed at $380 in October, which was way high. Well, it wasn't even that high. They were just a little too high. The listing agent, she dropped it to $350 in December. We got under contract for $335. So think if you're the seller starting at $380 to $335, that's a pretty big jump. And we still negotiated repairs while we were under contract. And this is a person who was told several times, she's in her 60s, that she could never buy a house. And then she walked into closing paying $1,000. The seller ended up paying at closing, which we didn't know. But if I was on both sides of the deal, would I have empathy for the seller? Probably. But like, my job, my fiduciary, is to my buyer client. I need to get her the best deal possible. So it was hard to get them to even do anything. They did termite treatment. Another guy, actually. So the house was listed at $300. They dropped it down to $287 within 2 weeks. We got it for $282, and we got termite treatments and repair. So you can get stuff. Unfortunately, this was the listing agent's fault for listing the house too high. So they lost their client the ability, because if they had listed at the right price, it probably would have sold off, like, over asking. But that makes me happy when I see a house that's sitting on, So it's being like a problem solver and like going in, and no matter what somebody says, they don't have to do anything. We know. But what happens if the buyer backs out? Then the house has to go back on the market. And then what is the first thing that people say when the house goes back on the market?
Why?
Something's
wrong with it.
What's the first thing they see when a house has been in the market for 30 days? Something wrong with it.
Yeah, something wrong.
Whether there is or it's nothing, it's just overpriced. That's it. So these are the conversations you need to know how to have, because this is just take off the realtor hat and put it on the human hat. Ask yourself, like, when you see a house that's on the market for 30 days, you're going to come with your highest and best offer? No. Do you want to, is that the result that we're looking for? Maybe we should look at the strategies that have worked previously and follow those strategies. These people got this result, but where did they start? You got to look at the strategy, right? Same thing with the buyers. You got to say the numbers don't lie, right? So these are conversations. We're going to continue to have these conversations. Just understanding that value, you can really have these conversations and understand you do deserve to get paid whatever unicorn fee that you decide to charge. Does that give you guys any more confidence than you walked in here today? Does anybody feel a little bit better about that? Awesome. And with the room has dwindled down to the smallest amount. And we'll hang out for a minute to do Q&A if you want to. Obviously, you guys don't feel obligated to stay, but does anybody want to do any Q&A? Yes.
I have two already.
Yes. All right. Got it. Go.
First one is, because I've heard conflicting on this, how many lenders can a buyer apply with before it starts affecting their credit?
It's not the number of lenders, it's the amount of time.
In between.
Okay, I thought so. It's like 60 to 90 days.
No, it's less. It's like a week or 2 weeks with the safe zone. Some people say 30 days, but I would just be very wary of that.
Yeah.
So like a couple weeks.
Yeah.
10 lenders.
The thing about
Girl,
doing
why
it,
you need 10 lenders?
I'm just throwing a number out.
Yeah. It's a unicorn number of lenders. The thing about doing it faster too is it creates speed. The thing is, once you have to sit and collect all those docs for one lender, I'm like, just put it in a folder and boom, right? It's collecting the docs that's the hardest part and getting them going. If someone is taking that long, we should be pre-approved within the next couple of days. You guys are not pushing, but keeping people on track, because this is your full-time job. That's not their fulltime job, right? So they're doing other things.
Options.
Not 10.
You don't need that many.
Look,
Yeah.
you're gonna run yourself
Throwing
ragged.
a number out
No,
there.
don't do it. Don't do that.
Don't do it. Wherever you guys register
2 or 3.
for the,
Emails?
yes,
Okay.
yes. All the recordings, yes, question. Did you have another one, Tiffany? Or you
Yep.
just- Follow.
So I know before you were doing the home search at the consultation with them, pulling them up. Are you still?
Sometimes. It depends on how much time I have with them, you know, and my rapport, our relationship. If I'm doing the consultation on Zoom, I'm definitely just gonna share my screen. Because then I'm not telling you, oh, you want this, and I'm not telling you something that's not there. The more information I can give them and show them disclosures, my people like that, because that's my personality. Some other people will not like that, because they're like,
Correct.
The other piece to tack on to that, Tiffany, is we do a buyer consult. If you do it really well, especially if they have unrealistic expectations or too broad of expectations, the best thing you can do is, hey, let's go ahead and take a look right now. So based on everything we just put in, there's 3 properties and I left it, so how are we gonna adjust? So you're not telling them that it doesn't exist, they're seeing it, or they're reverse, hey, there's 300. So do you wanna look at all 300, or do you wanna start whittling this down a little bit? That also gives you a carrot to dangle at the end of all of this as well. You know what, we took all this information rather than just walking away with it. Let's go ahead and build this
Let's
out
do
right
it.
now.
Yeah, let's just do
Look at
it.
your home search together. That's a really good feel-good moment.
Yeah.
And then if you buffer in, ooh, there's this one, let's just go look at it right
Yeah.
now. Let's just go do something fun.
but there's that energy and vibe of let's do, versus like, do you know, you need this, you need to galvanize them a little bit, right? Any other, somebody else, like question? Yes.
Ebony, what was your mindset shift, or was there one when you went from selling 5 homes to 3? What was your action?
Girl.
Tell them how you got there. Go first, girl. Tell them how you got there.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So for me, honestly, it was when I switched brokerages, right? I got with EXP, got with BLA, and sitting at the same table with the people that I'm surrounded with now, it changed everything for me. Because I'm sitting beside somebody that then sold 100 homes over here, 50 over here, 60 over here. I had no choice but to change my mindset, right? For me, even though I have a whole full-time career over here, but this person's doing it. This person is doing it with no excuses. So is this person over here, right? So that changed my mindset. Like, why can't I do that, right? And I just talked about this in the last training. This year, I made it a point. I don't want to just look successful. I want it to be successful. I've always had, I tell this story all the time, I've always had a look about me, right? You look through my page, I always had a look, but I wasn't where I wanted to be. And it took me into, I wouldn't say like a dark place, but I was just like, man, why am I not successful? Why am I not? And I said, okay, this year I'm actually going to put the work in. I'm going to be successful. And I don't know if you guys have a coach or anything like that, but this has been my greatest investment in myself, to be honest with you. And just being with Black Label Access, I'm telling you, just being in the room. Every training we have, I always say, get in the room, right? You're gonna leave with something that just stood out to you. And it really was just my mindset and just realizing I gotta put in the work. Every day I'm doing the work toward my business. And I forgot his name, but every day focus on those income producing activities, right? You notice sometimes we're just on our phones and we're strolling, right? We be on TikTok 2 hours, 3 hours, when we could have been doing something else toward our business, making phone calls or doing something toward your business.
Time and money go where you tell it to go.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
I would say the biggest thing is we talked about, what are we doing with our time? It's 1 + 1 = 2. It's just being willing to actually be honest with ourselves of what am I doing with my time?
Where your focus goes, your energy flows.
And then also, just to shine on her a little bit more too, it is about being in the right rooms and knowing that you can then call charity.
Right. What's
call
the
Dave,
vision?
Call here. It's the
It makes your
collective-
vision bigger,
Correct.
that of what's possible
Who
in
you're
life.
connected to
Yes.
is so important
100%.
on the confidence that you will have in this business.
Yeah.
You guys all showed up today. Guess what? You know that you can contact any of us and ask a question.
Right.
A lot of people don't have this. We have people from other companies coming here today. We probably have about 20 or 30 from other companies because guess what?
They don't have
They
this.
don't have that.
Exactly.
But they see that we have it, and Ebony is the prime example of that because
Yeah.
when we first, what was it, December,
Yeah.
January,
December.
she said she was coming over and she made that statement to Blair and I. She said, I don't want to look successful, I want to be successful. And then I looked at her and said, girl, you
With
got this.
everything that you need,
And the
yeah.
funny part is, Ebony was my client one time.
Yeah.
I sold her the home that she stays in now, way back in the day.
Yeah.
Blair was my client one time. I sold her something too. She was MJ's client over here also. Relationships though, right? Because if we hadn't had a positive relationship before as a,
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
then she wouldn't have wanted anything to do with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the type of thing. Get in the room and ask her questions. She may not know everything, but she's got Charity to her right. She's got Eric to her
Yeah,
left.
yeah.
She's got the whole collective access group. She's got the whole BLA
You
group.
gotta be in. That's
gotta be
the
in.
key. So
Yeah.
I would
All in.
say to Ebony,
And she's
to her
dual
credit,
career.
she has a full-time job and she mentors like 10 agents.
Yes.
Just to let you know. It's not like she just does one thing.
Correct.
When she has one day that somebody said, okay, everybody just didn't make one step today, I'm so mad. I'm like,
That's why I was like, yesterday, I was like, I quit. I don't want to do this anymore.
I quit?
I know I was being dramatic, right?
Yeah,
But
it's
I am
fine.
that much of a hard charger. I want to work. I got goals,
but there's a
right?
sense of urgency that you have.
Correct.
Yes,
and
that I have,
You
yes.
have to develop that sense of urgency.
Yes.
And you only know what it should feel like when you're doing it. And then once you're doing it and it starts to slow down, you're like, this feels weird. Like it's an instinct that you develop over time. And it does come from who you're around. But the thing is, and I say this all the time, it doesn't take time, it takes intention. As
Yes.
soon as you make the intention, it does not take time.
Sure.
You just have to say, this is what I'm doing.
5 homes last year.
I know.
She came here, in 3 months she capped.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
So
And it's like,
something that I don't know if you necessarily remember, Ebony, but you came to business planning when I did it here.
Yep.
I
You
did.
said to me afterwards, you said, I sold 5, I wrote down that I'm gonna sell 40.
Yes.
And I don't know if you remember what I
Oh
said.
my
but
God.
it doesn't matter how you do it,
Just,
you're going to do
That's
it.
right.
This is your
Wow.
path.
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
wrote
I
this
remember
down, I'm
being
really
there.
scared, and I was up there and made you like do it with me, and you're like, this isn't real, and I'm like,
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
let's do
You
it.
can't
I
be
don't know if you
realistic
remember
with
that,
your
but I don't even know
dreams.
what it is, I'm like, you're gonna do it.
Your
Oh
goals
my
have to be scary because the level of activity that it takes to do that is so different than the level of activity to just get by. And when you're just getting by, you're going to end up down here because your energy is so low.
Yeah.
If you're shooting for this and doing that activity and you're running, the energy just like people are just drawn to. I just got this out of the blue. I got 5 clients last week. It's not out of the blue. It's because of the energy that you're putting into the universe that I'm making a decision to do this, and I will do the work that's necessary to make it happen. It's a balance too. Of, okay, we also have to have some mental health, but it's also sometimes you get tired and you got to take a break, and then you get back up and do it again.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, but it starts with making the decision. having the vision, which means be around people who support that and say, yeah, it's totally possible, because look at this
Right.
guy's doing it.
Yep.
If you don't even know things are possible, and you don't know visually what that looks like, that's why you guys, the joke is I love Umstead. You guys know I love the Umstead. It's my favorite place to go. When I was a new agent, it was the first time I hadn't worked since I was 14. I sat at the Umstead every day and said, this is what my life looks like. This was my visualization. My favorite thing is to take people to the Umstead for the first time and say, this is possible. People live like this. And it took me a year to really believe that I did not believe I deserved it. And it was Kevin here, Tina's husband. He sat me down and said, Charity, you're pissing me off. What are you doing? Stop coming to training. There's nothing here that we're going to teach you that you don't already know. You've been doing this for 20 years. And I was driving Uber, and I had 5 jobs. And I would come to training, like I did my real estate today. And I did nothing with it. But I wasn't actually taking it and turning it into action. And then I was just, I don't understand what's happening. Like, you're not doing the work that makes you money, which lead generation is my specialty. I knew. But I had to have somebody in my face, and Tina both believed in me before I could believe in myself. And they're like, look, we have seen thousands of agents in our career. You have what it takes. I can tell you right now you can make $1 million next year. And in my face, you're going to say, totally. But in your heart, you're going to say, no, I can't. And that's what you have to fight. That's what you have to fix. Because if you don't fix that, you're going to self-sabotage. You're going to stop yourself, which is why having a mentor, whatever is, no, we're doing today, we're sabotaging ourselves. So so you have to have somebody on the outside, whether it's a peer, it doesn't have to be a coach, it could be peers, friends, whoever. You can do it.
Yeah.
You got to do the
and
work.
I think you have to, I say this too, some of our goals aren't big enough.
Yes.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think a couple weeks ago, I looked at the transactions I had. I think I was at 9, and I was not happy. Even though I had sold 5 homes last year, I still was like, this is not good enough for me. Absolutely not. I wasn't happy about it at all, because I have goals and I know what I want to do, right? Challenge yourself and believe that, hey, if this person here is doing it, why can't I do it?
You can, absolutely.
That's right.
Joe, words of
I
wisdom?
mean, you make great points, and just kudos to you for just turning that switch, because that's really what it takes. And
really.
if you have the right behaviors and actions in place, the will is what's actually gonna allow you to deliver those things.
Yes.
If I look back on our teams, we started the team in 2021, and this isn't being ugly towards anyone, but the people that have left our team, whether it was me making that call or them, 90% of them came down to just showing
Right.
up, literally and figuratively, right? Like just putting in the effort. And they want their G-Wagon, you mentioned that already, that they want the G-Wagon, but they don't want to put in the damn work to do it.
That's right.
I don't have a G-Wagon. I'd love to have a G-Wagon, but I'm realistic. There's so much more I want to accomplish before that. And if I'm going to sport around in a G-Wagon, I want to make sure that my agents are able to drive a G-Wagon.
Yeah.
And so it's just about, you have to lean in, and leaders on the team are only going to give you so much. Because what I refuse to do is pour into team members that refuse to show up.
Right.
Because and it's not that I'm being ugly, it's not that I don't want you to succeed, but you haven't made it a priority, so why should I?
Right.
And it's taking that step, so kudos to you for just identifying and be like, shit, I put all this work and money into getting my license.
Yep.
Why not repay myself by
That's right.
actually delivering on what I
Yes.
said I was gonna do by
Yes.
sitting in a classroom for 80 hours
Right.
and having to put all that into it, so
Yes.
just a shout out to you more than anything.
The answer is fear.
Yep.
Just like fear is the only motivator. Good or bad. Like 99% of people are motivated by fear.
Yep.
Very few are motivated by desire. You have to dig deep. And I don't think people are ready for the level of personal development that it takes to be an entrepreneur. You got to see yourself in a mirror that you thought you had already cleaned. That when I was the C-level executive, we had people paying us $80,000 per month and $50,000 per month and had 60 employees in India. Like I used to write 25 contracts a week, 52 weeks a year, 17 years in a row, 5,000 leads per month with no internet. This was like when I say the hustle was real. 400 to 500 students, ages 6 to 80. I handled business. And so when I came into real estate, I'm like, that's something great. No, I was driving Uber and sleeping in my car because I didn't realize, what am I so afraid? When you're an employee of some sort, even if you're the boss, there's other people to pick up the slack. You can delegate to people. But when you start at the bottom again and you got to do everything and no one's good at everything, but then is that where perfectionism comes into play? And then you freeze because nothing is perfect. That was me. I'm an overachiever, perfectionist, and recovering people pleaser. So that's the lethal combination. It brought me here to believe I could do it, but then it stopped me from actually taking action, which is why that's my big passion now is like, how can we break this down into the smallest achievable steps that you can just take one action? I don't need you to take 1,000 actions, because for a lot of people, and I think it's a working genius thing, for a lot of people, they can't see the steps and they just see that, and I don't see how that's possible, and so they just don't even try. I work with a lot of agents that people don't work with, and they say they don't really want it. No, they do. It's just the fear is too big for them. And so I think our job as team leaders is to help people find what makes them shine and do the things that are good for them, and stop trying to do the things that other people are good at, because do the thing you're good at, and then because you can do that better than anybody else. And so, but you have to get success. You have to win fast.
Yes.
You have to feel like a winner. You can't feel like a loser. And because our results are so far out, 90 days, you're like questioning yourself. Like, am I doing anything? Like, what is happening? But that's why we have to measure steps. Am I doing the steps? Because if you do the steps, the results will come. You gotta mess it up sometimes. You're gonna make the video and it's gonna suck. The only person who's gonna see it's your mom anyways. It's fine. Do you know what I mean? But yeah. So it's hard. It is hard, and we don't want everybody to feel like, oh, you don't want it. No, I hate that, because for people who are like, I do, but I'm scared, that just makes them feel worse. We just are not finding the way to communicate with those people to get them out of like where they need to go. It means, and I give people information real big, and I see what they do with it. And if they can't do it, then I'm like, let's break it down a little bit further. We got to go down to your level of what do you need today. And if you do that one thing, we're going to celebrate. We had a girl, brand new baby agent, 1 week on the team. She's in California. She did an open house on Tuesday. She got a client that day who said, I want to write a full price offer for this $1.1 million house. And so she's, I've got the money. She got a call that the house went under contract with a higher offer than she could afford. But it doesn't matter. We're going to celebrate the fact that you did an open house and got a client who wants to write an offer, right? We have a brand new baby agent, and 90 days of the business. Day 87, her first listing is closing next week. She has another listing that's live. She has a listing that's going up in the spring. She has a buyer under contract, new construction, that she got them $10,000 under list price, new construction, and a $10,000 bonus for herself.
Whoa, what?
Did the new forms? They don't care. Just do the forms. When you're learning it, when you're new, it's like, this is normal. This is how we always do it. I promise you they'll be okay with it. So it is possible. It doesn't take time. It takes intention. You just have to make the decision and say, I'm going to find out what the steps are, and I'm going to stopping myself. Because at the end of the day, the fear stops you more than anything else. You have to believe it's possible. You have to see that it's possible. It needs to be real. What am I doing with this $250,000? What does $250,000 per year look like? It looks like $20,000 per month. What are you doing with $20,000 per month? How much is your monthly bills? Okay, you got this left over. What are you gonna do with it? Let's make a plan. You wanna go to Bali? How much is the ticket? Let's go online to Google right now. It has to be real. And if it's not real, it's not gonna happen. It's just fantasy. It's somebody else's story that you're trying to live. So you've gotta really look inside, get that, and it will come to you. You're gonna attract that success, and it's gonna feel easy. And that's how it should feel. Who said that work has to be hard? Who told us that? We have to fight that feeling. It can be easy. It can. And fun. You just gotta find the right thing, and then you gotta make the intention, and just, this girl, she does the work. Yes, she does the work. So big ups to Ebony. Thank you guys for hanging out. I think we still have like 60, 70 people on Zoom. We love having you guys here.
I just want to say you were so
Thank you guys for sticking around.